by TY. So I had a request to make my drunken pound cake, so I just wanted to give a rundown of some of the ingredients that I'm going to be using. And this is going to be a pretty quick video here. To start off with, I have a family size loaf of pound cake here. If you want to make your own pound cake, you surely can, but honestly, we like to keep things pretty simple here. What I have is a half a cup of white sugar here. I have 2 packed tablespoons of light brown sugar. I'm going to be using 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla. And I have the drunken part. I'm going to be using some Captain Morgan, and I'm also going to use apple pie moonshine. I'm going to be using equal parts of both of those, so I'm going to use a half a cup of the Captain Morgan and a half a cup of the apple pie moonshine. So let me get things going, and I will be back shortly. See you soon. Alrighty guys, so we are back. So the first thing we want to do is make our simple syrup. So what I have in this saucepan here is a half a cup of water. And to that half a cup of boiling water, I'm going to go ahead and add in that half a cup of granulated white sugar. So let's go ahead and do that. The key to making the simple syrup is to constantly stir, or it will burn. Once it comes to a rapid boil, you can turn it down a little bit. I had mine on high, so I'm going to turn it down now to about 6. And now I'm just going to start stirring the sugar right into the water and just keep on mixing. Keep on mixing. And we're going to do this for about 5 minutes. I'm just going to keep stirring this up. And you want to make sure it's, stays pretty steady. You don't want it to completely come, simmer all the way down. So like I said, we're just going to stir this for about, let's say about 5 or 10 minutes. But you want to make sure that it's still somewhat boiling. It doesn't have to be a rapid boil. But we want to keep on stirring that up. To this mixture, we're going to add the half a cup of the apple pie moonshine. And we're also going to add the half a cup of the Captain Morgan. We're also going to add the 1/4 teaspoon of the vanilla extract. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this come back up to a boil. And while that happens, let's go ahead and get our vanilla inside. The key to making a rum cake or a drunken cake or whatever the case may be is you don't want to cook off the alcohol. So what I'm going to do is once this comes to a boil like I want it, once it starts to crystallize, I'm going to take this off the heat, remove it from the burner that it was on the heat, and then I'm going to go ahead and start slicing up the pound cake. By the time I'm done slicing the pound cake, it will have cooled off just enough, and then we will go ahead and add in our 2 sources of rum and moonshine. So this is coming back up to a boil, so I'm going to add in the 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla to this simple syrup. So just going to dump that in. And now that, like I said, now that this is coming up to a boil, we want to make sure that we're constantly stirring this because we do not want this to burn. Okay? And it's going to get pretty thick, so, be very careful with this. Don't burn yourself. And this doesn't take long. Like I said, this is a very simple, easy party favorite to make. This is I call this my drunken cake. So, it'll be great. All right. So I'm gonna let that come up to a boil. I'm gonna let it boil for about 5 minutes, consistently stir it, and then I'll be back in a few moments, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alrighty guys, so right now I have my simple syrup sitting to the side, and I'm gonna go ahead and start slicing up the pound cake. Like I said again, by the time I'm done slicing this up and placing it inside of the baking dish, we'll be ready to add the alcohol to the simple syrup mixture. Again, you don't want to put it in while it's still boiling or extremely hot, because then it's just going to cook off all the alcohol. As you can see, I'm doing this about a 1/4 inch thick, and I'm just laying these right into the pot that way. They soak in nicely. And if you're wondering what I'm going to do with that brown sugar, I'm going to sprinkle that over the top of the slices of pound cake so that when I pour the hot mixture, it'll just melt right into it. So I'll show you what this looks like. We're going to get all of this inside of the container here. So let me just put this right in there. Okay. Put that in there like that. Alrighty. So now I'm just going to make sure I have these nicely stacked in there, like so. Like I said, you know, just push them on in there. Don't be afraid. Alrighty, so now I have all of my pieces of the pound cake in there. So I'm going to now take those the 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top of the pound cake, like so. And you want to make sure you're covering all of it because you're going to pour that liquid mixture over the top of this. Like I said, this literally maybe takes 5 or so minutes. It's so simple, so easy. So here's my simple syrup mixture here. Like I said, I had that going for about 5 minutes at a rapid boil, and I constantly kept stirring it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the 1/2 cup of Captain Morgan. So we're going to add a 1/2 cup of the Captain Morgan. Yes, this is a drunken cake, honey. So we have a 1/2 cup. I'm going to pour that right on in there. And I'm also going to add in a 1/2 cup of this delicious apple pie moonshine. So I'm going to pour that right on in there as well. Okay. And I'm going to pour that in, like so. And then I'm going to give this a nice little mix. This cake is going to soak all of this up, and it's going to be delicious. So now I'm just going to transfer this into my dish, that way so we don't make a mess. So by the time you finish, if you've done this correctly, you should end up with exactly 2 cups of your mixture. Alrighty, and so now I'm just going to pour this over the top. And honestly, guys, that's it. That brown sugar is going to melt right on top. And we're just going to fill this whole thing up with this mixture. And I'm telling you, it is going to be delicious. And don't worry, it's not going to get soggy. This cake is going to soak all of this up. And the best thing to do is the longer you let it soak, the stronger it's going to get. It's fantastic. So there you go, guys. That's my drunken pound cake. I'm telling you, it's just that simple. It's so easy. You wrap that up, put that in the fridge for 2 or 3 days, and it is going to be delicious. Alrighty, guys. So like I said, you know, just wrap this cake up for about 2 or 3 days. It is going to soak it up, and it is going to be delicious. You can have a slice of this over some vanilla bean ice cream, or honest to goodness, just have it by yourself, and you are going to be in for a treat. Thanks again for tuning in, and again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me at simplyfoodbyty@gmail.com. And also, do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe. See you later. Bye.